Bermuda may be heaven on earth, but when it comes to food, water and weather, this is a paradise under threat.
We are seeing more and stronger hurricanes come this way.
Globally, we have a problem with water.
Any water we can catch, we're all over it, but as quick as it comes down, it's evaporating.
We've lost a lot of agriculture fields over the years.
It's frightening when the ship doesn't come in.
We can't be solely reliant on imported produce.
It's absolutely critical to stay on the curve.
The agriculture sector is almost a white slate.
A message: we're Rockwell and we're super passionate about using our sustainable solutions to protect our ocean and beyond. And that's why we sponsor SailGP, because everywhere we race around the planet, we endeavour to leave a positive impact. So while we're here in Bermuda, let's see what challenges this island faces and whether we can help. And don't forget to subscribe. First off, Bermuda is 650 miles off the USA's eastern seaboard in the North Atlantic Ocean. At 53 square kilometres in size, it's tiny, and if it was a country, it would rank as one of the smallest nations in the world. And whilst it looks like a dream, it's not all plain sailing in this subtropical haven. Food security, freshwater scarcity and climate change are amongst its biggest threats. Climate change means more temperamental weather systems, rising sea levels and more severe weather events, with 3 hurricanes already making landfall this century on the island. Despite being surrounded by water, fresh water doesn't flow freely here. Bermuda is relatively flat, so the conditions to create lakes and rivers don't exist. An abundant porous limestone means water doesn't pool on the surface in the first place. So it relies heavily on rainwater instead and power-hungry desalination plants. With 64,000 inhabitants to feed and limited farmland, Bermuda imports over 80% of its food, meaning an increasingly vulnerable supply chain and expensive import duties contribute towards Bermuda being one of the most expensive places to live on the planet. Freshwater scarcity is a major challenge in Bermuda, but it's combated by old and new technologies. If you have a house, it's the law to build a Bermudan roof. Made from limestone and first created in the 17th century, they direct rainwater into underground storage tanks. Bermuda also extracts groundwater, which is heavily regulated by the government. As if it's done excessively, it can badly affect the environment, with land subsidence, saltwater incursion and disrupting the ecosystem being the things to avoid. And the third is using desalination plants, or a process known as reverse osmosis, where salt and other minerals are removed to create drinkable water. When it comes to food, Bermuda has limited space to grow, and currently agriculture doesn't play a significant role in its economy. Financial services and lucrative tourism became top dog long ago, and once the agriculture industry diminished, Bermuda developed a reliance on imported foods. Now, the government is trying to change this and has introduced initiatives like community farms and urban farming as part of its 2023 Integrated Agriculture Strategy. So I'm catching up with some local farmers and the Bermuda Government Agriculture Officer to understand what the future of food looks like for this unique place.
Farming and agriculture is in our blood. Starting from the 1600s when the settlers first got here, agriculture started back then out of necessity because these guys were shipwrecked on the island. So they had to grow food in order to survive. And when they grew the food, they found that the land and the soil was very fertile. Bermudians, our nicknames are onions because we used to grow a lot of onions. It's very different now. We've lost a lot of agriculture fields over the years, but there are different policies in place that prevents agriculture from being lost to development. And so we're trying to keep agriculture alive and vibrant. One of the big issues we also have in Bermuda is lack of land. We're trying to discover certain areas that maybe we can turn into planting land. And so government is realizing that we need to be able to produce more and more efficiently in order for us not to be solely reliant on imported produce.
How would you describe to somebody who's not in Bermuda or has no idea about what's going on in Bermuda, where are we in 2024 in terms of farming?
I think that we are, and I've always said it, in the Stone Age. I studied in Costa Rica for 4.5 years, and it was to become an agriculture engineer. I returned in 2020. I've been here pushing sustainability since then. Worldwide, agricultural technology has been advancing, but Bermuda, because we've only been focused on almost every other sector, we haven't focused on agriculture. Here, the agriculture sector is almost a white slate. You can come in and make changes that are necessary, to make Bermuda the beacon of sustainability. It's so plain, you know? So coming in with new ones and more innovation is what's really needed. The wake-up call was COVID. You know, people had nothing else to do and they went to the shops. There was no food on the shelves. So they started to say, well, what do we do? Well, maybe if I get some seeds and go outside of my backyard, I can start to make a change. Since then, people have been reaching out for home gardens like what I have behind me, so that if anything happens again, they know that one, they're sustainable, and two, they can eat fresh. We can slow down our imports and have better quality soil, better quality produce, and then we have a circular economy.
What's the right way to farm? What's the most important thing when we think about farming?
I think the right way to farm is the regenerative way. Putting the carbon back into the soil, so turning organic waste into an energy source or into a heat source or into a fertilizer. You know, those are the type of things that Bermuda needs to start moving towards to. I think you have some farmers that are trying to do it on their own, which is great, but the idea is that everybody comes together and pools together to make it a larger, holistic solution. So coming in with new ones and more innovation is what's really needed.
It's clear that Bermuda is redefining its relationship with food and agriculture. Disruption to supply chains or a change in the weather could leave this beautiful island vulnerable. And farmers and government are working together to find new ways and technology to protect the island and scale up production capacity in the case of a crisis.
Good afternoon, my name is Tom Watson. I've been a farmer in Bermuda since 1976.
Talk us through what life is like with water scarcity. When you have this kind of scale of a farm, how does it work? How do you do it?
It doesn't go well when it gets dry. Any water we can catch, we're all over it. To not take a conscious view of sustainability is a huge folly, big mistake. In this business, you know, you've got traditional stuff that works well, but you'd be a fool not to embrace modern technology. The only irrigation we can afford to use is drip irrigation, and that's huge because you're using half the water. You're not getting any fungal issues all over the plants because the humidity around here is crazy. Just a little bit of drip irrigation could completely save your crop that you're going to lose. It's absolutely critical to stay on the curve, you know. Keeping up with it all is critical. You've got to invest and keep investing.
And before I leave Bermuda, I'm off to one more farm to find out how Rockwool is contributing to the future of this island's food security. And it's using our Grodan technology, which is even more water efficient.
It's very important to keep our agricultural sector alive. My name is Warren Brown. I'm from Bermuda Gardens. I'm born in Bermuda. I grow local vegetables in a greenhouse operation, which is half a hectare under cover. We try to do it as sustainably as we can. People love them, school kids love them, but they're all used in Bermuda. And in the event that we have a crisis in the world, we need to keep our productive capacity. If we lose that, we'll never get it back. We play a role filling English cucumbers, tomatoes, basils, and things like that. I'm growing vertically with diffuse light and 10 feet tall crops that use space very well. We're using seeds that are very expensive. Technologically, we're using the most advanced seeds in the world for what we do. There's about 10,000 ways to do it wrong in farming. Machinery goes wrong, seedless propagation, weather, water, bugs, infestation, pathogens. You know, you're constantly monitoring all of those things, and all of them have to work in synergy with each other to be successful. But Grodan does give us an edge. Yeah, so these are the products we use. One of the products from Grodan. Water is fed through the blocks, and it runs through a gutter system, and then it can be collected. So Grodan is part of the sustainability of reducing the amount of water. It allows the plant not to become too wet, but to keep enough moisture in there so the seedling is happy. It's kind of like, it doesn't drown, but it's not too dry. It's like having an infant child, you know, you have to have a strong life to start.
Using certain soilless media is certainly something that the government sees as a viable option and certainly does support.
It fits into Bermuda for sure, because our ancestors used water efficiently. We're just carrying on the tradition. We are here for the long run.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Beneath the Surface. For more information on Rockwool, Grodan, SailGP or Rockwool Racing, check out the links in our bio. Catch you next time.